everybody. Time to rise and shine. I'm Shelby Barrett, the STONED for the STONED Roadie Show, and it's time to wake and bake with Craig Reed and Griff Martin.
Good morning.
The STONED Roadie Show, podcast 134, Wake and Bake, the Morning Buzz, episode number 18, action.
Looky here. I'm back. Griff Martin is back. I had computer issues, and thanks everybody who sent me well wishes about my computer, which there's a lot of computer experts out there that was telling me what I needed to do, but what I needed to do was put a new part in it. So it took me a little while, but I was working. You guys want to stick around because coming up on the road with Griff Martin at the end of this jibber jabber here with me and Craig and I, Kent Griffith part 1, aka Mr. X. A lot of great information, skin information and skin memorabilia that I videotaped. God dang. Over at Kent's place. So yeah, it's good to be back. And Craig, we were having like a little issue too with the subscriptions. I think you went on there and you found out that we didn't have any subscriptions anymore. And what do you?
Yeah, let me interrupt you here and kind of get up to date on that. Yeah, I had somebody use my computer, my credit card, and my credit card canceled my credit card, and we got to pay Zoom a fee every year to be able to do these podcasts for over 15 minutes and get other premium things going on. It's about $150 a year or something like that. I don't know. But anyways, yeah, my subscription was up and they wanted to run my credit card and it didn't go through. So they just took everything away and we started off with zero. So yeah, I got done with editing this, that last solo project I did, and it got to the end and it wouldn't load it up because it was over 15 minutes long, and I had to go in and pay that money and then and verify it was me, and then God, yeah, we start these things early because we have to get them up at 6 in the morning, and it was right at 6 o'clock by the time I finally got it figured out and got it going. So yeah. So then I took a trip to the moon on my spaceship after that. So, so yeah, that's the end of that story. So go ahead, Griff.
Well, I know you told me I got it all figured out now, and I'm putting the podcast up, and then I went on there and I said, Craig, I can't find it, and you're like, well, it's up. And then so I was like, well, I'm not seeing it. Well, I put it on Facebook, so I went to Facebook. And then I noticed there was like 3 or 4 views, and I was like, something isn't right.
Yeah, and then also I put it up. It goes up on Gmail, and somehow I got another Gmail account or something, and I put it up on the wrong Gmail account. So I had to go in. You called me about 8:30 in the morning, and you said, "Hey, man, it's not up." I go, "Yeah, it is." And so I got up and I saw it, and I'm going, did I have it on private or what's going on? So then I finally figured out I had it on the wrong account. So I had to get that fixed. And about at 10:30, we finally got it straightened out. But yeah, we're good to go now.
So how are we looking on the donations now? You got any?
We didn't get any this week, except for the only thing I got was from Lori. And Lori, she bought the book for $1,000, and gosh, she sent me the money 3 weeks ago, and it never has got here yet. So she did a UPS, and I just got it, and that goes to Mark Frank. So Mark, you'll be getting that $1,000 here. I'll be sending out this week, and then the other 500 was she bought one of those funeral brochures. So so we got another 500 for the general fund, and it kind of cracks me up because I got so much hell for selling one of those funeral brochures, and I was the scum of the earth for ruining the whole atmosphere of Gary's funeral down there in Jacksonville, and me and Gene were going to go down there at Whitey's, and all the only reason I was going to do it was going to go out there and try to sell T-shirts and hats and stuff and try to make money. And the only reason I went down there was so I could rip off a bunch of those funeral brochures and gratify my own bank account. I was scum of the earth. And this was all coming from a person that Gary Rostenton probably disliked the most on this whole wide world. And me and him was like best friends. And this person that was complaining the most, Gary probably disliked the most, but and then Whitey's turned out to be a really big success, and now we've gathered up $3,000 from those funeral brochures and donated it to the Forgotten Survivors. So I think we did pretty good on that deal, in my opinion.
And your bias.
Other people might have another opinion, but I think they're a little biased, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, it did work out really good, and I think that what you did was a fine thing, Craig, and I'm on your side, buddy.
Well, I still have a couple more of them brochures. I'm still going to sell a couple more. So, my whole thing was to sell one of those and beat Elvis, but I didn't do it with one. But I think after we're done with this, I think we'll beat the $5,000 record that I think Elvis set. So I don't know if that'll count, but sure helps our survivors, our forgotten survivors, and that's all that counts.
Yeah, nobody's complaining now. That's what the end result is here. So, and so you got looks like you got some hockey pucks and a hockey shirt on. What's up with that?
Well, I kind of put the bathrobe scene to bed for a little while. I did that for a while. So last week I wore one of my Philadelphia Flyers jerseys, and this week I got a New York Islanders on. So we played all those hockey places, wherever, the big places in whatever cities you go. That's normally where they put down a hockey floor. And every time me and Boxcar, the guy that does Billy's keyboard, still does, one of us would go and to whoever was in charge of the hockey pucks and ask the guy for a hockey puck, and then and every once in a while I traveled with the band. So when you travel with a band, you a lot of the times the venue will give the band one of these nice hockey jerseys. They don't normally give them to the crews, but since I'd traveled with the band a lot, I got a couple of these. Matter of fact, I think I got this one when I was with Marshall Tucker, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure, but yeah, I got a, like we've talked about before, I collect a lot of things, and being on the road, you get a chance opportunity to collect a lot of different things, and I kind of fell right into the trap.
Well, Craig, you haven't noticed something that I'm wearing, and I've had it on the entire time.
Oh, wow. Jesus for Survivors sent you one of those.
Yeah,
huh?
Jesus for Survivors sent me my own beads. And he
the cuckoo nut bead.
Yeah,
Look at there.
And he also
now we're twins.
he also sent
I didn't see yours.
See, he also sent me some bath salts.
Oh, I didn't get no bath salts.
Well, that's because you're not a Baptist. You have to be a Baptist to get bath salts. And And then I also got some slippers too. That
Oh, I got some slippers. Yeah, he sent me
let's
some
see.
slippers.
Next time I baptize somebody, I'll have bath salts and slippers. And thank
Yeah.
you, Jesus, for survivors for sending me that. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, yeah.
Come in handy.
He sent me a set of slippers from the Four Seasons. I think they were from. They came in a nice little thing. He said, but they were complimentary from the hotel he stayed in. He didn't take them like I did.
Next time, I'm not going to
They might
baptize
have.
anybody. I'm gonna glue their mouth shut with some E6000. You guys can look that up, or I can shove it up their part that the sun doesn't shine on. But yeah, thanks Jesus for survivors for that there.
Oh, cool. Kukui nut
Yeah,
bead.
I got my own cuckooing. We're
Yeah,
disciples, so we got to have this
yeah.
kind of stuff. It's just
These
the
are a
way it is.
symbol of knowledge.
Yeah.
I I feel odd wearing them.
And that fella Lloyd Jacob Frayne, what a character that guy is. I kind of watch him on Facebook. He's always putting some funny stuff on there. He was commenting on your simulator, Greg. What's going on with your simulator, your flight
Oh yeah,
simulator?
yeah, yeah. There's been a few people who've been kind of interested in my flight simulator and my spaceship. People have been asking me what planets I go to, but on the game, there's no planets in this solar system. They're all outside this solar system. They're in other galaxies and stuff. Yeah, so. But yeah, but people want to know what you need to get involved with that, and yeah, I got the Thrustmaster TPR rudder pedals. So those are probably the best ones you can buy. I think they're $600 just for the rudder pedals. Those are the pedals that actually steer the plane and on the ground, and then it operates the rudder in the back to do this with the plane. But in the spaceship, it operates the yaw, where you can hit your ship this way or this way with the rudder pedals. But then on the spaceship, you got left thrust and right thrust, which you don't have on an airplane, and then you don't have up and down thrust like this. You got forward thrust and reverse thrust, like on an airplane, but spaceships have up and down thrust and left to right thrust, and they got yaw, and it's got all kind of different controls on it, but that's what the rudder does. And then I got the Warthog flight control stick, and then that comes with the Warthog throttle control. Those are two different ones, and those are probably about the best ones you can get. And that set is $550. It's come down about $50 since I bought it. And then if you want to fly like a Piper Cub or something like that, there's a flight yoke, and I have a honeycomb aeronautical flight yoke, and it's about 250, but it's pretty much about the best one you can get too. So you can get cheaper stuff, but those rudder pedals, I got those because they're real good ones. The real cheap rudder pedals you can buy, they're kind of plastic, and they slide in these little slots, and they're kind of rough and stuff. But the Thrustmaster ones, they kind of hang from a post, and they kind of hang and go like that. So they're a lot more fluent than the plastic jobs, But they work really well. But yeah, and then the games themselves are $100 or whatever. I don't know, but yeah, they're a whole lot of fun. It's fun. People think I've been in an airplane crash, and I wouldn't want nothing to do with airplanes. But it's kind of fun to, it's got all the hardest, most difficult airports to. You can fly anywhere in the world. I mean, I land in my backyard back here. It's all set, they do some kind of satellite thing and set it like that. There's a hill in my backyard. It's like perfect. It's back there and everything. It's real cool. But yeah, you can you can fly all over the world and fly all over different places, and it's really neat.
I was reading was one of the comments somebody was saying, Craig, why don't you just go ahead and get your pilot's license? Craig likes to crash when it's not real.
That's right.
So that's not a good
pretty
idea.
good eyesight. My eyesight's not that great anymore. I think there's an age limit on being a pilot.
And I think that was Lloyd Frayne that said he'd fly with you anytime, Craig. He said he'd fly with you anytime.
Oh yeah, yeah. I thought
Speaking
that was pretty common.
of the comments, I found a comment on your last podcast that you did solo, and I wanted to mention these guys, Midnight Whiskey Massacre Band from the UK. They like to watch the podcast. I thought that was kind of cool. So hey out there, Midnight Whiskey Massacre Band, send us a video so we can see you guys, and maybe we'll put it up on the podcast. And yeah, you can send a video, and also if you want to send a Sunday morning acoustic, this is where you need to send it, and we like it in landscape. So yeah, Midnight Whiskey Massacre Band. And I guess maybe it's the head man for the band. He wants to know, what was Ronnie's personal poison? He knows that they like to drink, but what was Ronnie's personal drug of choice, would you say?
Oh God, it depended on.
He didn't smoke weed, right?
No, no. Every once in a while we'd be out fishing and he'd take a couple of hits of weed, but just a couple of hits. Yeah, he didn't smoke weed.
Well, I know when I was at that Lakeland concert and my buddy and Jay was there, and I've told the story before. Somebody threw a joint up on stage, and Ronnie picked it up and took a couple hits off of it and threw it behind him. And then Craig ran out there with a little Sucret box and snubbed it out. What'd you do? Collect all those, Craig?
He'd always pick them up and throw them over Artemis's head to where I could get them. Yeah.
And I didn't even know I was going to meet Craig one day. I didn't realize I was going to meet Craig one day, but that was something that was really cool.
And I'd go over and Gary would come off the stage and I go, here, try some of this. Somebody threw it up on the stage. That's what the guy, and Gary would try some of it. Yeah.
But back to that question about Ronnie's poison.
Well, I don't know. Probably whiskey and cocaine. Yeah. They kind of run together, When you do a big old gagger, you gotta do a little whiskey to kind of mellow out, Yeah, I think those two become one, whiskey and cocaine. Yeah.
Well, I guess maybe that's what every now and then he would burn his throat out, And, I've heard some stories that people were sharing their party favors with him, and it wasn't too good for a show.
Yeah. Well, he didn't do pills. He didn't eat pills or do any of that stuff. It was just more the rock and roll star drugs, the whiskey and the cocaine.
And then you got some questions that people asked that you didn't get to on your last podcast that you sent to me that we can go through here real quick. Some questions. Jerry Bertsey, maybe I'm butchering that. Did Billy Powell's piano ever get dropped? And how well did it stay in tune?
No.
Not if it got dropped, it didn't.
I used to set up Billy's piano a lot. I could set it up by myself. And actually, the way I won't go through the whole procedure to set one up, but if you know what you're doing, you can do it by yourself. And I set it up by myself at Gary's wedding.
Well, it came in a big case, didn't it?
Yeah, great big case. Yeah. The only thing you needed help with really was when you're packing it up. Um, you have to lit. You have to. It goes up on a. Well, you have to take a leg off, and then you drop the corner of it on a little on the slab that it carries it on, and then you tip it over when it's down on the corner. You can tip it over on its side, and then you pick it up, and then you take the other legs off of it, and then you gotta lift up that dolly and slide the wheels up underneath it, and you can't. One person can't just lift it up and then throw the wheels under there. You need somebody to throw the wheels under there. But then after you get the wheels under there and you put the weight down on the dolly, the front of the dolly will pop up, and you just stick your foot in there and hold that dolly from shooting back and hit you in the face, and then you drop it down on the wheels. And people were people be grunting. There's big old guys that be grunting trying to lift that thing up, and I go, get out of the way, and I jump in there and do it myself. It kind of freaked them out. But it's just the way once you learn how to lift it, you can do it. If you don't know how to
Did
do
it
it,
stay in tune though, or you didn't have to tune
yeah,
it?
yeah. No. We had to have a piano tuner come in every day and tune it. And when that happens, I mean, you're doing the whole. Everybody in the building is putting stuff together, and we're putting the stage together, and we're putting up the PA, and we're putting up the lights and everything. But when that piano tuner's in there, everything's got to be dead quiet, so he can
Did
hear.
he travel with the band, or
No. We had to hire somebody to every city we went to has a piano tuner,
Oh, wow.
and he would come in during the day. And when the piano tuner was there, it was dead silence on the stage area. I mean, you could be up there as long as you didn't make any noise, but you couldn't make any noise that would.
I don't think it would work nowadays because nobody shows up for anything.
Well, Billy's piano now, or not Billy, Peter Keys, he's just got the shell of the white Steinway up there, and then it's an electronic keyboard now, so that doesn't need to. Yeah, anymore they don't, unless you're using a real piano. Not many people use a real piano anymore. It's too much of a pain. Maybe Elton John probably does, but
Yeah.
I'm sure he does, but.
And then Brian Boggs asks, do you have any stories about Huey Thomason of the Outlaws playing with Skynyrd?
Oh God, Huey was a character. I loved Huey, man. God, we met Huey back at Richards in 1974, and he just thought it was a good guitar player, and when we were looking for another guitar player, when Ed quit, Huey got up there and played a lot, and a lot of the Outlaws guys got up and and jammed and stuff, so that's kind of how Gary chose Huey to do it during the tribute tour. After Mike Estes, and then that's when Ricky came in. Ricky and Huey came in about the same time. Yeah.
And then Louis Epling, were the band and the Honkettes paid a salary, or were they all paid just by per show?
I don't know what their situation is. The crew got a salary. I imagine everybody was on a salary. I imagine everybody was, a certain salary every week, and then everybody got tour bonuses. I don't know. I imagine everybody's band bonuses were different than the crew bonuses. But yeah, everybody was on a salary. And yeah, back in the Skinner days, it was, we didn't make a whole lot of money, but we got paid every week, whether we worked or not. We were, we got paid whether we worked or not. And then at the end of the tour, you got a bonus. And then then when you're on the road, you get per diem. You get $35 a day per diem or something like that, which that adds up because you don't really spend any money on the road for food. That's your drug money, your per diem. That's your drug money. Because your check goes home.
Yeah, I was talking to Kent Griffith when I was at his house, and we were talking about Ed King, and the funny thing that Gary said, and he was somebody who was doing an interview, and they said, what do you think about Ed King? Well, he was stingy, he had a suitcase full of Slim Jims and snacks, and he wouldn't let any, he was selling them to everybody, and then he was stingy with his drugs.
Well, yeah. If you wanted to keep your drugs, you didn't tell nobody you had them, or you wouldn't have them long. As soon as you found anybody found out you had a little bit of cocaine, you were their best friend until it was gone. Yeah. Yeah, everybody, come on, man, Craig, give me a bump. When there's 10 guys in the band, Graham goes real quick.
And this guy, Michael Williams, I think it's a guy, Michael. Of course, you never know these days. Have you ever hung out in Spartanburg, South Carolina, where Artimus lives? I got high at his house at the time of he was in Lynyrd Skynyrd, I guess that's what he said. But
oh God, yeah, me and Sue and Chad used to go and stay with Artimus and Pat and Chris and Marshall, and God, yeah, we used to go. I remember one time we went mountain climbing with the kids. Man, we got kids. We're handing kids up the side of the mountain.
I never heard that story before.
Yeah, it was funny. Yeah,
Artimus was there.
Oh yeah, me and Sue and Chad and Artimus and Pat and I think it was just Chris at that time. God, Chad was only 4, 5.
I just got a weird question. You survive an airplane crash and then you want to go mountain climbing? That's kind of crazy.
Well, that was before the crash. That was
okay.
Oh yeah, that was before.
That makes sense.
And then during Rushington Collins, we went up to Bat Cave, South Carolina, back up in the mountains where these guys are up there. They had this great big mansion cabin up in the middle of the hills where these pot growers were up there growing weed, man. And all these, every room was different, a different kind of wood, and all the wood came from right there on the property. But yeah, they were pot growers, man.
Yeah, back then you didn't mess around. Those guys growing weed, they'd put a bullet in your ass.
Yeah, but it was cold as hell. There was no heat in the house, and we had to keep a fire going. And we finally it was in the middle of winter, and we had to get out of there. There was a blizzard coming, and as soon as there was no driveway or nothing. It was up the side of a mountain. And we went up there, and we had to leave, and as soon as we left, man, they got hammered with snow, man. It was yeah, we were up there desolate. These guys were bringing moonshine up to us, and we'd throw it in the fireplace, and then you'd see this blue flame.
That Spartanburg, South Carolina, I got a lot of family. That's where my mother's side, all her family is. So I got a little bit of family up there in Spartanburg. Mike Stallings asked, which band member did you like smoking weed with the most?
God, all of them. My God. Well, I only smoked with Gary and Alan and Billy or Leon, Artemis and Steve. Yeah. Yeah.
I remember you told me.
Them, yeah, but I probably smoked the most was Gary.
You said the first time you met Steve that you guys smoked like a whole
Oh
bag
God,
of
yeah,
weed.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
he
could
it was
play.
at Myrtle Beach Grandstand Music, and it was his first show that he showed up. You know, we were on tour, and after that, 'cause we got home, and he showed up at the first show at the Strand up in South Carolina, and yeah, and I was there at the show, and he showed up, you know, and I said, "Man, you want to get high?" And he goes, "Yeah, man." So we smoked pot all day long. I mean, and you would think, you know, that he would be a little hesitant, you know,
Right.
first day with Lynyrd Skynyrd, you know, and he just, you know, it just didn't bother him a bit, man. We smoked all day long. It didn't bother him a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Veteran guitar player, veteran weed smoker.
Yeah, he was used to it.
Then there's a Lonnie Van Zant, which I don't know if he's related to the Van Zants or not, but
I know the name from Facebook. Yeah, I don't know if he is or not.
did RVZ ever give you something that was sentimental to him or you in any way? Not a Benz or a career? If so, what and where and why? So I guess I keep.
Yeah, he did, and you know what? I'm a dumbass. He gave me a fishing pole one time. He gave me an ambassador reel and a fishing pole and stuff, and I just didn't fish anymore, and somebody wanted it, and I sold it to him, and I'm kind of sorry I ever sold that fishing pole.
Damn. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Is it one that he used, or was it just one?
No. I didn't have one. So yeah, when we started going fishing, we went to Kmart. I think Kmart. Went to Kmart and bought an ambassador C reel and what kind of pole was that?
That ambassador, that's a bait caster.
Yeah, open face bait caster. Yeah. And a real nice rod, you know.
Yeah, I would be kicking myself in the ass if Ronnie Van Zant bought me a rod and reel and I got rid of it.
Yeah.
And then Nathan Scholl, why was Artimus going to be fired after the Streets tour for Steve's brother?
I saw that one, and Steve's brother, I don't think was that great of a drummer. I never heard him.
That's a Gene Odom story, I think.
Yeah, I never heard him, but he wasn't the drummer in Steve's band.
Because Artimus says Gene was going to get fired, and Gene says Artimus was going to get fired.
There you go. I never heard about Artimus getting fired. No,
Yeah.
No, there was
Tracy Keeling. Will you be at the monument this year, Craig?
No.
That didn't take long.
There's so much stuff going on in this country, and come October, oh God, it's hard to say what the Democrats are going to throw at us, man. It's going to get wild here pretty soon.
Yeah, and my buddy Jay, this is a guy, I don't think I've ever heard Jay tell a lie his whole life, because he's just the kind of guy, he's like Craig, he just don't see a need to lie. And he told me the other day he saw some flying saucers, just kind of casually, I saw some flying saucers the other day, and I was like, really? Yeah. And then some other people saw them too. And I was like, I've known this guy his whole life, and he's never made anything up. So he either thought he saw some flying saucers, or because there's a lot of it on the internet now. It's like everywhere you look, people seeing flying saucers. They're getting us ready for something, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, so Craig is not going to the monument this year. And, he did blow up an engine and got a speeding ticket and then wrecked his car. And you were like 20 grand in the hole after that, weren't you, Craig?
Yeah. No, I was about 15. I don't think I hit 20. I know I hit a good 15 with the hotels and everything.
Oh, yeah. God. Jeff Markinet, I guess. I'm probably butchering that one. Uh, the Hell House. Let me see. How the Hell House are you going to answer these questions?
Oh, I read
How
that.
the
How the hell
hell?
are you going to answer all these questions? Because I got on FakeBook because you all of a sudden you couldn't do it, and then we came up. What was it? Friday, I
Uh,
guess.
yeah.
It was Wednesday. We did our last one, and then Friday I was supposed to you announced that I was going to do one on myself, and I said, man, I'm not ready
Well,
for this.
I
So then come Monday morning, I said, okay, I'm gonna have to get it together and do this. So Sunday night, I guess or Sunday, I got them to ask for questions, and people gave me a lot of questions. And
I thought he was asking a question about the Hell House. So that's what I was like. And he says
and
he would like to co-host. So
yeah, and
yeah.
yeah.
You
So
could take my
I did the
place.
solo thing, and there was a lot of questions, yeah, but that was when I didn't know if what I was doing was I was even gonna get it loaded or not because YouTube was messing with me. So I only did like a 40-minute thing and then I just cut it off. But I kind of had that extra page of questions, but I had it on the side or something. I don't know.
Yeah, and then he says, "Can he co-host the next time my computer breaks? We'll give you a call." And then Ken James uh, says 7/13/77 at the convention hall. I'm assuming it was you filming that smell. Gary looks over and gives the finger. Is it because he was pissed that the song was about him, or was he just screwing around? Uh, and he said something about watching it on YouTube. But yeah, were you filming
I
that?
don't know. I don't remember on my films Gary ever giving me the finger. I don't remember that ever.
No, that must have been
No, I don't think it was on my
yeah.
films.
That was probably a YouTube film at a professional
But I
video.
think I read that question whether he thought it was because he knew that the song was about him because it was that smell. But no, it
And
was.
then I was watching your podcast, and you put that picture up of that guy Javier, who
Oh, if you heard, I didn't know if it
yeah.
was. I didn't really think about it until I started doing the show, and then I said Javier, or something like that, and I didn't know how to pronounce it, and I didn't know if it was a man's name or a woman's name. But then the guy contacted me because he said him and his wife were really were thought that was. He says, "Thanks for showing my." Yeah, I got some of
Yeah,
this.
show those pictures that he drew. The guy took a
He said,
lot of time.
thanks for showing my character or whatever he called it on here." And he said, "But yeah, I'm a guy." He said, "Well, my sister said, how do you pronounce that? Was Javier." And I'm sorry about that, but
That's like a Jesus and a Jesus thing, you know.
but yeah, he did this one of Leon, and he must have spent a lot of time on these.
Yeah, it's all in color and everything.
Leon, yeah. And then Steve.
Cool.
And then let me see here. I think that's Bob Burns. Must be. Yeah, Bob Burns.
Yeah, Bob Burns didn't look like that later in life. He was kind
And
of
then
big.
Billy Powell. And then Artemis.
He's pissed off.
And here's a good one. Gene Odom. He's pouring out whiskey bottles. Here's he.
Oh, that's
That's
cool.
what he's doing. That's what he's doing. If you can't see it, he's pouring out booze
God
bottles.
forgives and I don't.
And then There's the honkettes.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
And then there's Ronnie. That kind of looks like the face on the monument thing. It does. When I saw it, I said it kind of looks like the way the guy drew the face on the monument.
Yeah, we don't want to bring that up again.
Well, I always like to talk about the truth. If the truth,
right?
I ain't got no problem with the truth. Here's Ed King.
Poor Ed. He always gets drawn fat.
There's Gary. And Alan.
Yeah, Alan.
And then in case you forget, there's me. I think he did pretty good with me. And he's got a picture of the pipe on there. So you can see it.
Yeah.
So,
Craig, did you ever get on to Ed King for his weight?
No.
I mean, it seems like, you do it now. Why wouldn't you do it then?
Ed hired me. I couldn't mess with Ed for anything.
Sometimes
that wouldn't be politically correct.
There were times he didn't look. I'd swear there's one picture, and a lot of people don't realize that he put a pillow under his shirt, and he was with Ronnie, and everybody thinks that's really his weight, but he was a character. That guy, he was he was something else. Yeah. So Craig, we need to talk about the contest and how we're going to run it. Now, the last time you and I were together, we were kind of half cocked. We didn't know what we were doing. So it's basically you just send Craig an email, and when he gets your email, he'll assign you a number, right, Craig?
Yeah, let me put my email up here. I was gonna change this picture here, but there's my email.
Yeah, if you send it
Roadie
in the mail, then it's not reliable. We're finding that the mail
Well,
is
if you
not
send
reliable.
it to my email, it's gonna be easy for me to give you a number, because that's how we're gonna do it. You're gonna whatever order your request comes in to put you on the list. That's gonna be your number, and then we'll draw a number, and then we'll match the numbers. Yeah.
And then what is it you're giving away, Craig?
What was it we're giving away this time? We're giving away
Stickers,
a sticker,
yeah,
and one of those Hell House
posters, and a kazoo,
and that's an addition. Yeah, we're giving away. Oh yeah, Cousin Figel sent me this bag of kazoos, and that's how we got on. Well, he sent me them $1 million bills, and they're over there. I don't have them here. I'll put them up here. I got a picture of one here. Let me see. Oh, there they are. There's the $1 million bills we're giving away. Right there. The front and the back. And then you get it. And then if you want, we'll give you a kazoo. And a blue one, or a yellow one, or a white one, or a red one, or a purple one. And then Cousin Figel, he sent me a whole bunch of them $1 million bills, and he watched the podcast, and he goes, well, if you're going to give a kazoo away with those bills, you're going to need more kazoos. So he sent me, see, I got that in the mail.
Yeah. And if you want Craig to sign any of that stuff, you got to tell him.
I got a whole nother bag full, so I think I got like 30 kazoos here. And they're pretty cool. You just kind of hum into it and make a noise.
And then you never know what else. You never know what else Craig might put in that package of things that he's given away. So you just the last time.
Oh yeah, and then we're going to give away a Rossington Collins sticker too.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Rossington Collins sticker. Where's that at?
It's like an 83 sticker, isn't it? Like 1983.
80 actually.
80? Yeah.
81 somewhere. I think it was the one with the Phoenix on it. That was the Flight of the Phoenix. Or where is it? Oh, darn it. Oh well. I'll run across it.
But yeah, so that's about everything I got as far as stuff to question, to comments, and I kind of want to set up this video on the road with Griff Martin. And oh, hey, there's that video I took of you on the Banshee, huh?
Yeah, that's in my front yard when you were up here and you were leaving. There's probably here I am out there in the.
Yeah, I was just pulling out of Craig's house, heading back to Florida, and he was out there on the Banshee, and he has a golf course out there. Craig actually gave me some golf lessons. And,
that was just after all the trees blew over, and that great big tree up there, and the matter of fact, some of those even there are gone now.
Well, it's not that green up there right now, is it, Craig?
No, It's more like this here.
Yeah, there's. When did you take that video?
Oh God, I don't know. That's from my GoPro. I put my GoPro camera on my helmet and and do some drifting in my front yard.
Yeah, I bet that's kind of fun in that snow. Does it grip it pretty good?
Huh?
Does it grip pretty good though? You can actually.
No, that's what in the snow it doesn't grip. That's why you can and spin it around, and yeah, that thing's dangerous in the summertime, man. It's got in the wintertime it won't get traction and rear up on you.
Well, this Craig, this on the road with Griff Martin. I'm over at Kent Griffith's house, and he went over so much stuff that it's going to be in several, probably at least 4 parts. And this one that we're going to see is part 1. It's probably 30 minutes long or so. So we're going to add that on the end of this podcast, and you guys are going to want to probably be somewhere where you can watch the podcast and not just listen in the car. You can listen in the car, but it's not going to do justice because there's some pictures and things that I videotaped, and some pretty cool stuff. And so thanks for inviting me over, Kent Griffith. And it's more skinformation, and that guy's full of information, and he's letting a lot of it loose now. So we're looking forward to that. So it'd be even more with Kent later on. So that's about all I got. Craig, you got anything else?
Well, yeah, this Saturday night special, we're going to have Kathy Godsey on with Mikey Lockhart and George. And then she said she's trying to get the lady Carolyn, her friend Carolyn, that was with her, that went to Alan's house back in 1980 or something like that, when Gene, that's how she kind of met Gene and everything. And that's the woman that was with her. Then Gene asked me a question that he didn't remember because he was like in the Army, and he said when you first got down to Jacksonville and Alan and Kathy lived on Blanding Boulevard there. Is that where Kathy asked Alan, if I leave here tomorrow, would you still remember me? And I said, I didn't know, but Kathy Godsey's been talking to Kathy Collins's who was was the woman who was her best friend. Here I am mumbling like I did on that solo show. Anyways, getting back to the story, she's trying to ask Kathy's best friend if she remembers if Kathy ever told her about that how
Right.
Freebird was written. If I leave here tomorrow, will you still remember me? And I don't think a lot of people know that came from Kathy Collins.
Yeah.
That Ask Alan. That's where that song came from. So there's a little bit of skin information y'all want to know, and you heard it on
Yes.
the Stone Roadie show.
That's going to be cool. That's going to be really cool. Have a friend of Kathy's on there. That's
Well, she doesn't know if she can get it on, but Kathy's going to ask her if she remembers that, because I don't know. I don't think she thought she had a lot to add or whatever, but she's going to ask her that one question anyways. So
yeah.
if we can't find that out, So yeah.
All righty.
Well,
Well, let's
that'll be
wrap her up, Craig, and show that footage. Okay, on the road with Griff Martin, and this is going to be kind of a strange on the road with Griff Martin because I'm over at Kent Griffith's house. Well, this is his condo it's like a separate place that he has in Fern Park, Florida, which is kind of near Altamont, and that's where they did the last signing there when they were doing the Lakeland tour. And anyway, I'm over here with Kent Griffith. Now, he doesn't want to be on camera, so I'm not going to be showing his face, but there's some really cool things that we're going to be looking at, and it's almost like a skin formation overload for me. I can't keep track of it. It's just too much going on, and so Kent's going to go through it with me, and he's going to describe a lot of this stuff. And right off the bat, there's something really cool that we're going to look at. So we're going to go in here, and we're gonna look at some stuff, and Kent's going to be talking, but his face isn't going to be on. So here we go. Okay, walking in the door at Kent Griffith's place, and this mat right here, which, hey Kent, you around?
Yeah, man, how you doing, Griff?
All right, man. Let's talk about this floor mat right here.
That is a mat that Alan Collins made. When he was putting the Ross and Collins band together, he liked making his own T-shirts. They made their own merchandise. Had airbrush artists make custom T-shirts, And Alan had about, I think, 4 of these mats made that we know of, maybe 3 or 4 of them. They're custom. It's basically rubber foam that's glued together. They're professionally made. He had them custom made. Gary got one of them. Big Lou had one. Both of theirs were basically never used. Alan gave them brand new, doormats. This is the same one that's basically photographed on the front cover of one of the Ross and Collins albums. But this was Alan Collins' personal doormat. This one sat right at the front door to the Jacobs Avenue studio, basically from the time Alan made this. At the beginnings of the Ross and Collins band, it sat there all the way through the RCB, the Alan Collins band. It was there in 1985 when I first walked into the Alan Collins studio, and it remained there up until just after Alan died, when Larkin was closing up Alan's studio. We were just about to close the front door. I was standing there with Larkin right in front of the studio, and the doormat was still there. I mean, an electrical contractor was moving in, leasing the building and putting shelves in the old studio to store, big rolls of wire and things of that, electrical supplies. And this was still sitting at the front door, and I asked Larkin, I said, "What are you going to do with that?" And he goes, "You want it?" And I said, "Sure." So this was a gift to me from Larkin as we were closing out the Alan Collins Jacobs Avenue studio right after he died.
So give me an idea of some of the people that may have stepped on this mat, walked across it.
Well, you know, you got to start with the Rossington Collins band. You know, I mean, all of the band members walked in and out of the studio over that. The Alan Collins band, you know, Lynyrd Skynyrd too. The side projects, Vision, Leon and Billy's band Vision. At the time that I met Leon, not only was he in Vision, but he was also doing another recording project with Robert Nix of the Atlanta Rhythm Section. It's called the Max Nix Project, you know. So Robert Nix had his drums stored at Alan's studio, and Artimus made him a part of his drum kit. You know, when I recorded him in there, I was actually recording Robert Nix's you know, kick drum instead of Artemis's. I didn't have enough microphones and cables to wire up the whole set, so, you know, I wired up Robert Nix's. But you just can't imagine all the rock stars. You know, everybody that would have been connected to that band in that studio from, what, 1980 until Alan died, 1990, you know?
What's crazy is you got it laying on the floor here and people are walking on it.
Well, I thought about framing it, but that would put it out of touch. And artifacts like that, you know, I consider that one a holy grail artifact, you know.
Oh,
but,
definitely, yeah.
I think artifacts like this should be touched and felt, you know. And, you know, if you want to, take it outside to the sunlight and take a
Oh,
look
it's
at how
good right
made,
here,
you know?
yeah, you can see it really good. As a matter of fact, the sunlight's kind of glaring off
Oh,
of it.
is
That's
it?
why I moved it, yeah. Cool, okay. Well, what else you got in here? For me, I'm telling you, it's skinformation overload. And I actually am having a hard time keeping this stuff straight. Now, we're not going to get Kent on camera here, so I'm going to be kind of like videoing around him. Let's talk about these drumsticks that you were showing me earlier.
Well, those are Artemis's drumsticks. That is another holy grail item, in my opinion. It's a one-of-a-kind set. Artimus taped them up because he was such a powerful drummer that he would, you know, throw drumsticks out of his hands. And so he taped them up so that he could hold on to them. You can see the knob at the back end of them, you know, that he had there. That was to keep it in his hands, to keep it from flying out of his hands from the sweat. You can see that the other one is missing it, you know. And if you take a listen here, I recorded this in Alan's studio. Now what you just heard was part of Final Flight of a Freebird. I recorded Alan Collins, you know, for one of the last recordings that he made wired up in a studio. I understand Steve Reynolds recorded him maybe on a boombox after December 18th, but Alan was paralyzed, you know, from that car accident in January, you know, the following year, you know.
Right.
But I recorded him that December, and what you just heard was I'm sitting on the floor basically trying to record. I didn't have enough microphone cables and microphones. I didn't have a snake to, you know, go into a control room proper, you know. So I had to wire up a mixing board sitting on the ground in front of Artemis's drums. And the keyboards of Kenny Zerider were facing Artemis's drums. And what you just heard was Artimus letting loose of a drumstick. When I first walked into that studio in 1985, I looked around the room and there was drumsticks sticking out of the acoustical insulation in the walls. It's about four inches thick. And there's drumsticks in the ceiling, drumsticks in the walls, and, you know, I was wondering what the heck that's all about. And then I found out, you know. You just heard Artimus throw a drumstick and him jump off them drums saying, well, what happened, you know? Where did it land? Where did it hit? Did it hit the keyboards, you know? He was concerned that somebody could be hurt, you know. So what you're looking at is a powerful drummer trying to keep drumsticks in his hand, okay?
This particular
Now,
drumstick's got a crack in it.
He told me that he used brown prior to One More from the Road recording, okay? But he used white only for the recording of One More from the Road, which was July 7th, 8th, and 9th in 1976, right after Steve Gaines joined. So these were actually used to record the album One More from the Road. And he plays so hard, both of these drumsticks were cracked and broken. And the crew grabbed them up and threw them into the flight cases where they remained until me and Artimus dumped them out in the studio, you know, cleaning up Alan's studio, getting ready for Lynyrd Skynyrd 2.
Which could have been Craig Reed that did that.
You know, I was actually following in his footsteps. I was actually picking up some of the duties that Craig left behind. You realize that? I didn't even know that at the time, you know, because Craig was gone before I got there, just before I got there, you know. And then I kind of started doing some of the stuff that he probably would have been doing, you know.
So these sticks are recorded?
These sticks were actually beat to crap by Artimus while recording One More from the Road, and the crew threw them into the cases where we found them in 1985. Now, I got that one stick without the tape on the tip up there, the electrical tape, because, you know, I wanted a souvenir, you know?
Right.
But on December 18th, 1985, you know, when we were recording Alan and Artimus and Kenny Zerider, Artimus was using that other drumstick. He had taken that one and wrapped the electrical tape around the end of that thing so that he could use that to record Alan Collins' Final Flight of a Free Bird that I sat in front of him recording, you know, on the ground using Leon's a Porta Studio, Tascam Porta Studio that Leon loaned to me to record with. And
so Artimus, he laced all this,
he
which
did.
is what is that?
I
what
don't
type
know,
of material
I don't know,
is
but
that?
he called that Roman lacing. It's like Roman shoelacing or something, I think. You know.
Yeah, that's an artifact.
This is Summer Final Flight of the Free Bird, and Alan's coming in. Here's Alan right here. Now, when you're listening to this last recording that I made of Alan Collins, a wired recording, not a boombox recording, let's put it that way, Artimus was using that drumstick with the black tape on it. So the historical significance of these drumsticks is not only were they used to record One More from the Road, but they were also used to record what you're hearing right now, Final Flight of the Free Bird, Alan Collins' last recording in his own studio.
Cool.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, oh yeah.
That to me is a holy grail item.
Yeah, I call that skin memorabilia.
It don't get no better than that right there. Which reminds me, I want to say something. I'm going to cause a little bit of controversy right here, but it needs to be said.
Okay.
Plane crash items are not holy grail. Okay? You know, from the day that I met band members in 1985, I learned their pain. I learned their suffering. You know what I mean? Everybody that survived that plane crash was hurting, man. Okay? And they don't understand fans that have a fascination with death and the plane crash and wanting to possess these items. You know, the band members want to dispossess themselves of that. They want to keep away from it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. When the day of the crash comes upon them, band members kind of freak out. You know, you learn to leave them alone. And you know what I mean? Don't mess with them.
Right,
you know?
right.
And they don't understand this fascination. And to me, there's no such thing as a plane crash part or something that was on that plane that's holy grail, collectible. You know what I mean? And to have people like Gene or Craig sign pieces of the plane, you know? I mean, that plane nearly killed them. You know what I mean?
Right.
And the band members and family members, you know, they stay away from this stuff.
Yeah.
You know? And when I collect Skynyrd items, I want to collect items of life, you know, of when the music was flowing. You know what I mean?
Right.
I want items on this side of the plane crash, not that side of the plane crash.
Yeah,
okay?
I got you. Well, you were pretty close to the guys in the band, so you understand what they went through and the way they think and stuff like that. So that's why we're talking with you now. So what do we got as far as these pictures here that you got?
Well, I'd like for you to, if you want to take a look at the studio as it was in '85, you know, when they're right there.
Yeah, describe that. Describe that for me.
Me and Artimus was living at Leon's house. I met him August 3rd.
Yeah, if you could just turn that down a little bit so we can hear you. Yeah.
Leon and I were out partying with Larry Junstrom in Leon's Porsche one night, and Leon didn't want to come home. And he didn't tell me until we were already out, you know, hey man, Artimus is coming over. Can you go back to my house and wait on Artimus? You know, Leon didn't want to go home, so he wanted to stay out and continue partying. So he handed me the keys to his Porsche and the keys to his house. And I drove back to his house. He lived on Dauphin Court in Orange Park. And there I put on the Nebworth tape in Leon's living room, looking at all the gold records around, you know, had the place all to myself. And then I hear this knock on the door. I opened the door, and I didn't even recognize him, you know, and it was Artimus. And he showed up at Leon's house, and, you know, Alan had called him. Alan was putting together a Lynyrd Skynyrd 2, so the first two people that he called was Leon and Billy, you know, and I was at Leon's house when that call came in. You know, Leon handed me the phone. That was the first time I ever talked to Alan. You know, I didn't know who it was. Leon just reached over and handed me the phone. And it was Alan. And he's like, man, we're going to do it. We're going to start Lynyrd Skynyrd again, you know, and you're going to be there. You're going to be a part of it, man. You know, and I'm like, great. This is like dream come true stuff, you know. So that's how I met.
So what
Alan.
are we looking at here?
Well, this is when we first got into Alan's studio. We started opening up the studio, you know, and Artimus is sitting on the 1977 Street Survivors tour riser. You can see the poles there, the steel poles that he had his Bose sound system on the tour of the Street Survivors. Leon's bass rig was put over on the right. This is the bass rig here that Leon used in his band Vision. And he stored it here at Alan's house, or Alan's studio on the west side. So it came and went, you know, every show right there. We used it at the studio as well. Here's the Alan Collins drum, you know, touring. They kept all the drum parts in there, you know, for touring. This is what Steve Reynolds has at his house. He's got just this surface of the front door here hanging off his wall at his house now, you know. This is the crystal ball that Skynyrd carried around on tour with Lynyrd Skynyrd that they played Freebird and then shined the lights of, you know, Freebird all over the inside of stadiums.
Where's that at?
Right there, sitting on top of Artemis's kick drum.
Oh, I
right
see
there.
it.
Yeah.
I see it right.
Yeah. And the reason Artimus put the kick drum up there, he was very careful to put a blanket in it and put the crystal ball on top of it. It's missing some of the glass pieces. But here's one of Robert Nix's drum part, you know, pieces that was stored at Alan's studio.
Yeah, right there's the crystal ball. I just zoomed in on it right there if you guys can see it. That's a really important artifact right there. I wonder where that's at.
I don't know. Here's Alan's last recording here. And the recording you're hearing right here was actually recorded at this setup right here. You can actually see the microphone. I got one microphone on Robert Nix's clear acrylic bass drum right there, and Artemis's other one was not even mic'd because I didn't have enough. I was sitting right out here on the floor in front of Leon's bass rig right here at the corner of this thing on the floor with mic wires coming to a mixer from different parts of the room because I didn't have a snake. And I couldn't be in the control room. We just didn't have enough gear out yet. Me and Artimus are going through each of the amps, trying to figure out which ones worked, which ones didn't. The stuff that didn't work went right back to the warehouse.
And you were how old at this time?
I was 20 years old, man.
Wow.
I was 20 years old. I was in college. I was going to the FJC campus there, which wasn't far away on the west side. And, you know, and I started doing this stuff, man. It was freaking great. You know, when I played this back at Artimus, he was like, oh, gee, I guess you do know something, don't you?
So this recording is actually Alan?
No. Wait, let's see. Yeah. Yeah, Alan's still in here. That's Alan right there.
And this is like, you say it's the last recording he did before his accident?
This is the last wired in the studio, in his studio recording.
Gotcha.
I think Steve Reynolds recorded Alan after December 18th and before he was paralyzed. Here's his last lead.
That's in Alan Collins' studio, and it's what Kent has as far as the last recording of Alan in the studio before his accident.
I called this one Final Flight of a Freebird.
Cool. And you're gonna say you're gonna give me the file on the thumb drive, and I can share the whole thing. So
it's time to share this stuff with the world, man.
Yeah, on another podcast we'll put that up. Yeah, I'm gonna go get a thumb drive, and Kent's gonna put a lot of this stuff on here for you guys for some future reference. So cool. Wow, that's a keyboard, huh?
Kenny Zerater is on keyboards. He put keyboards facing the drums, and he had a keyboard, stand there, and he had these two Yamaha CX-7s, one stacked on top of the other. And I think with the left hand he played the bass notes, and with the right hand he's playing all of the melody and other lead parts and whatnot, But this is all just spur of the moment, They're just making this stuff up as they go along.
Let's move into this Bobby Sanders photo. And you've got like the actual photographer that took the picture. You got photos of him, and you also have his signature on something, which is really cool. And I really didn't know anything about this, which is just phenomenal.
This is Richard Daniels. Richard Daniels was a Central Florida light man. He's worked with Pat Travers, Foghat, Molly Hatchet, Johnny Van Zant Band. This guy was Lacey's boy. He was Johnny and Lacey's boys. In fact, one of the only other pictures I have of him is him and Johnny Van Zant arm in arm, side by side, his buddies.
And where's this taken at?
This was taken at my condo in Maitland, Florida when he was my roommate. Richard was the light guy for Janie Lane's Sunset Strip in downtown Orlando, and he also ran lights at the Fern Park Station. And I came into the Fern Park Station as a freelance live sound engineer. So I was, helping out doing shows there, and me and Richard were basically the two guys that were running the shows at the station, okay? He eventually became my roommate, rented a room from me at the condo there in Maitland, okay? He got behind in rent one day, and so I told him, I said, I'll take your rock and roll collection and trade of rent money. And he gave me a roll of film that he shot October 17th, 1977 at the Altamont Springs Mall. This was just 3 days before Lynyrd Skynyrd died in the plane crash.
And this picture is one of the photos that he took, which is Bobby Sanders. And we had Bobby Sanders and Gene Odom on one of our podcasts. And we got the actual signature of Ronnie Van Zant, which this is Bobby getting that signature.
Yeah, you see Ronnie's putting pen to paper right there underneath Bobby's arm, And Gene Odom's right here, but he's cut out of this particular picture. Now, I got the roll from Richard Daniels. I got the whole roll of film, and this was just one picture.
Well, you have that picture.
Yeah, hold on a second, we'll get there.
Okay.
When I first made prints of it, okay, I recognized Bobby because I knew Bobby,
Right.
And I didn't know anything about this. Nobody knew anything about this. Richard didn't know who Bobby was. Didn't even know he had taken this picture. You know what I mean? Just happened to be on that roll of film. So I called Bobby up and I said, Bobby, I think you need to come over here to my condo in Maitland and take a look at this. And I walked him. He arrived in his '69 blue Camaro. Beautiful car, man. I want that car. And I walked him inside and I said, Bobby, I think you need to sit down. I didn't want him standing when I showed him this. I sat him down at my dining room table and I threw this picture down in front of him, and he was just emotional over it. I mean, to be handed decades later after his good friend had died in a tragic plane crash, to be handed a picture of him and his buddy just days before he died, something he never even knew existed, you know what I mean?
Right.
And I just happened to find the photograph. If I hadn't found the photograph because of Richard Daniels, this one could be lost for all time. The entire roll of film could be lost for all time, okay?
Right.
So I took that picture and gave it to Bobby, and Bobby immediately spent about $500. I called my photographer. His name was Wes Altman in Altamont Springs, and he already had the negatives, and so Bobby called my photographer, and Bobby ordered up about $500 worth of that picture, okay? He ordered wallet size, he ordered 5x7s, he ordered 8x10s, he ordered poster size of that thing, you know what I mean? He was giving them to everybody, you know what I mean? So this particular artifact right here is that picture, but now it includes Gene Odom. Okay, and this was also a band manager back here. I don't remember his name, but I think he managed to scream through the wheelies at some point. But this particular image that you're looking at is a one-of-a-kind artifact that can never be duplicated again. There are no seconds in the world. There are none like it. Because this particular one is the complete picture from the image, and it's signed by Gene, who's in the image. It's signed by Richard Daniels, the guy that took the image. It's signed by Bobby Sanders, who's in the image. And I signed it here myself as well because I'm the guy that found it, but I'm not in the picture having to do it, so I signed it on the outside. But this is a one-of-a-kind artifact that can never be duplicated, you know?
Yeah. Wow, that's cool.
And it was Richard Daniels.
And we don't even know if he's even around.
I don't even know
anymore.
if he's still alive, to be honest with you, you know?
Okay.
And here's another rare one. When I was getting my Street Survivor signed. You can see that Leon signed it, Lynyrd Skynyrd too. How many Street Survivors you ever seen signed by Tom Dow? You'll never see another one. Tom Dow was my buddy before he died. But look what Artimus signed right here. Down in 77, but up when?
85.
The tribute tour wasn't until August of 87.
Yeah.
We were putting together Lynyrd Skynyrd 2 in 85. And that's what you're listening to.
What's this signature over here?
That's Ed King. He's not even on the album. No, that's Billy.
Oh, Ed King signed that right
He
there.
signed it. That happened in Statesboro, Georgia.
And what's this?
Billy Powell. Kent,
that
this is the old me. I think you know the new me. Jesus loves you, Billy Powell. This is when he was in Vision.
And even Lynyrd Skynyrd.
Yep, Coach Skynyrd signed it too. And Gene Odom signed it. JoJo Billingsley signed it. Artimus signed it. Leon signed it. Alan signed some of my other stuff. He didn't sign this one.
Wow. Skinmerabilia.
Yep, there's a ton of it here.
Bye bye.